Welcome, everybody, to this next episode. Actually, this is our 50th episode. Woohoo!
Wow.
Yeah, so this is awesome. I never really expected us to get here, but here we are, and it's been fun. It's been exciting. We've had a lot of new stuff go on. This is Rebecca and Rebecca, and I'm Rebecca Reed from rural Indiana, and my partner in books is Rebecca Yager from Dallas, Texas.
Hi, y'all. Does that work? We're going to talk
All right.
accents today.
Yeah, we're gonna do. I don't like they. I don't feel like I have an accent, but everybody says Midwestern people do. I don't know.
You do
Anyway,
have you have an accent.
I have an accent. Okay, she says I do, and she's an expert. She's from Australia. So let me introduce our author of the day. This is Jessica Wakefield from Australia, and we're so excited for her to be here. We're going to talk about her novel, right in front of you, which we have the book cover where there it is right there. It's awesome. And we reviewed that this earlier this month. And Rebecca's going to go ahead and tell us a little bit about Jessica, and then we'll get started with our conversation. We're so glad you're here.
Yes, thanks for joining us, Jess. And I'm going to read the bio straight off your website so people can even read along if they go to jessicawakefield.com. Let's get that in there. Anyway, we're going to talk about this. Born 3 months too early and told she wouldn't survive, Jessica has always been on the go, proving every day by simply living that God is a God of miracles. But growing up in a small town in northern New South Wales taught her to appreciate the slower pace of life. Moving to Newcastle to attend university, Jessica studied high school English and history, and as life would have it, God intervened and used her teaching degree to share the gospel with high school kids. Marriage and children brought a new focus to her life and provided the opportunity to run a blog for 3 years with her sister. That's cool. Jessica started penning really bad Anne of Green Gables fan fiction as a
So
kid
bad.
and has a lifelong love of the Sweet Valley High books. And after she stopped blogging, knew it was time to focus on her love of writing. When her eldest turned 4, she finally sat down to write the love stories that had been roaming around in her head for as long as she could remember. Um, and Jess, you close off with this on your website. I'm off on an adventure, and I'd love it if you came along because love is worth the journey. What a great bio!
Yeah,
Love
that's
Thank
it.
you.
awesome.
I love that.
That's my longer
So,
one, but yeah. Thanks for
Yeah.
having me,
Oh,
ladies.
well,
you're
we're
welcome.
glad you're here from Australia.
Australia,
Yeah.
yes.
Another first, right? We've never
Yes.
interviewed anyone
There you go. And I
halfway
feel
around the
like
world before.
your first, and it's your 50th show, and you've got an Aussie on there. That's really cool.
Yeah, it is, and we should say good morning to you, and it's evening for
Yes,
us. And David,
yes, yes,
Yes.
yes,
it
yes.
is
It's
an
9 o'clock in
evening.
the morning here. Um, And you guys are on now, you're on Central and you're on Eastern. So is there an
Right,
hour between those two?
right,
1 hour,
right. So
yes.
it's a little after 5 here and after
Yes.
6 for
I spend a
Rebecca and me.
lot of my time looking at American time zone differences to mine because I have a lot of these type of things to do. So I have a fairly good idea of when's a good time to do something or not.
Yes, that was good because I don't know. I have a lot of people that I follow that are Australian, a lot of authors, but this is the first time I've actually gotten to chat with one. So that's really awesome.
Well, I hope you can
Um,
understand all of my funny sayings with my Aussie accent. So far,
I
it's
think we'll
going
be
okay.
fine. We'll ask for clarification if we don't.
Yeah,
So
there you go. There you go.
you can teach us some things. So
I can.
So,
well,
well,
tell us a
number
little bit
one,
about, go
oh,
ahead. No, go ahead. I'll let you. Usually you ask the first question. We don't want to break with traditions.
like it matters. See, our 50th show, we got this down so smooth, don't
Clearly,
we?
it's going. Love it, ladies.
We're all good. Actually, I was going to start kind of with your birth, to be
Yes.
a preemie and to fit in the palm of your dad's hand. I presume there are
Yes.
pictures of
Yes. If you on my website is a blog post somewhere called it's not called my birth story. It's called More Than Enough. And it chronicles my birth story and I was a pound and a half. So I was actually what's called a micro preemie. So I'm born at the end of basically the end of my mum's 24th week. So if you're 24 weeks and under, you're a micro preemie. Um, and so I did fit in palm of my dad's hand. I weighed 1.5 pounds. For Australians, it's about 750 grams, so about a tub of butter. Um, and I was in this little town. Um, this is 1983, so 40, let's just talk age for a minute, 41 years ago. Babies born that early, they were told that we just don't survive. Like it's just that simple. So they put me in a kidney dish, put a blanket over me, and took me in the other room to wait for me to die because babies that young don't survive. I know, right? It sounds really awful, but don't worry, it's not. Because I'm here, guys.
You're here.
And this beautiful nurse who had come, I'm not sure when she had moved to Canada from Sydney, but she'd moved there and she had worked with premature babies. So God had her in the right spot. And I've met her, and she remembers pulling back the blanket and these little brown eyes staring up at her. My legs are kicking. And so she went to the doctor and he said, we have to do something. And he's like, no, they don't survive. Because they'd already called a bigger hospital. And they're like, no, no. And then it was an hour later. She'd wrapped me in blankets. Like it was an hour later and I'm still alive. So she convinced the doctor to put me in a humidity crib, whatever you guys call them over there. I don't know anymore. But they put me in there for another hour and I'm still going. And then they called Sydney, and Sydney's like, no, no, we can do something. So they wrap me in now. Okay, we're going to have an Australian thing here. We call it aluminium. Okay, you guys call it aluminum. Okay, they wrap me in aluminium foil.
Okay.
And I always just imagine them pulling out like the wrapper from the kitchen and just wrapping me up in it. I'm sure they had something slightly more sophisticated than that, I hope. It was the 80s. I don't know. And they put me on a plane to Sydney, where I spent the next 3 months. And so I basically came home and went back to the local hospital for two. I came home. I was there for nearly 3 months, came home, spent the next 2 weeks back in the local hospital before I came home. So I basically was back home with my parents at about what had been my due date, December 17th, because I'm September 1st. And yes, so I am a walking miracle. And I've had people say my whole life that God meant I'm meant for big things because God saved me when I was so little, right? Anyway, so if you live under that your whole life and you haven't done anything spectacular, and I say that with air quotes because who knows what a spectacular life is, right? I was like guilt laden, like what I'm not living this great life I'm supposed to have done. I'm a housewife. I'm a look after my kids. I'm not even teaching anymore because I stayed home to look after my kids. What kind of, spectacular big life is this? And then I read a Becky Wade book. Now, I'm going to straight up admit that I read and write Christian fiction, or I'll call it Christian worldview. Like, 'cause sometimes there's not a message. Sometimes it's just my values are there and there's no overt message or anything like that. But sometimes there is. It really just depends on the book you're writing. And I don't read Christian fiction to be fed anything. Like I just enjoy it. I know there's no sex and swearing. I'm all good, right? But so God doesn't speak to me through Christian fiction books. I know he speaks to lots of other people through that. Wonderful. I'm so glad. But that's not me, and that's not why I read Christian fiction books, right? But God spoke to me through this one. And it's one of the only books I've actually had him speak through me. And it was Becky Wade's, you think I know the name of the book because it's so impactful. Stay With Me. That's it. Stay With Me.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stay With Me.
Mhm.
And the Jen, she says, she felt God saved her for something spectacular because of this miraculous saving. And she felt guilty. I didn't feel guilty. I just thought there was something wrong with me. But anyway, and then I realized after that, God saved me because he loves me. I don't owe him. I don't need to do massively wonderful, like, big things with my life. Me living my life and learning to accept Jesus as love that's a big thing for a lot of people. And most of the
Mhm.
time our head and heart aren't working. And so it doesn't mean God doesn't have wonderful things for me, but it just means that I've stopped feeling bad about the fact that I'm not doing X, Y, and Z. And I don't even know what X, Y, and Z is. So I've stopped that. And it's just, and I want to tell anyone who's listening that God loves you. Jesus loves you just as you are. You don't need to do anything. If he saved you miraculously for something, wonderful. And if he's going to use that to do wonderful things, wonderful. But if he doesn't, saving you is enough. Looking after you is enough.
I think impacting just the people around you is enough.
Yes.
You're
Yes.
here,
Yes.
and your children are,
Yes.
they're glad you're
Yes.
here because they wouldn't be here.
Yes.
It
My
doesn't,
husband's glad I'm
whatever.
here.
Exactly. So whatever spectacular is, that may be, it's
That's right.
spectacular right
It's
there.
about defining spectacular for you, isn't
Yeah.
it? Like, because the world's idea of spectacular is totally not what, God's idea of spectacular is. Um, so who knows, right? But anyway, there's my story.
I,
That's that's amazing. I mean, it's so cool to listen to what you have to say and how that impacted you and the reaction, because I think you're right. I think that is a common belief that, hey, you had this miraculous,
Mm.
you survived this car accident, or you survived this or that or the other thing, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Now what are you going to do with that, right? But I
Like
like
a
I like
pressure.
that, there
Mhm.
doesn't have to be the pressure that people put on you, and you don't have to put pressure on yourself. Although I know that that's a great thing in a book to have on a hero, or a
Yes.
heroine, right? You can really
Yes.
use those emotions to impact your stories that you write and
Totally
things like
should use
that.
that. I should. I
Yes,
should. I
you
should
should
take that
use that.
whole. Yes, I should. Another book. Don't give me more ideas for books. She knows I
Yes.
have a problem with this. Rebecca knows I have a big problem with this.
But we want to give you ideas for more books because you need to write more books. We
I
enjoy
am writing more books.
Good. Readers will appreciate that.
But it's important. I'm going to
No.
pace myself.
Okay. Well, you can pace yourself. But listen, yeah, you said here, how fast do you write books?
I don't
How,
write that fast.
no,
People
but
think I do, but I don't.
oh, come
I was
on.
supposed.
You,
What? You tell me what?
what? How long does it take you to write a book? Okay, we did a little questionnaire, which we don't go question by question. But your
Oh,
answer to
look.
me, anywhere between 3 to 6 months. That's,
Yeah.
we've talked to other authors who say it takes them a year to write a book and do this, and you
Oh.
can write one in 3 months, maybe if you're, you're
If
is set,
life's
you're raising
going
kids.
really well,
I
no
think
one's
that's
sick.
well, okay, with kids, yeah, good luck.
I have a 7-year-old. So things are still, I have a 7 and 14-year-old. So the 14-year-old, she's mostly pretty good. I just got to be a taxi to her at night, and that's fine. My 7-year-old still requires some additional, 7-year-old love support and,
Mhm,
make
mhm.
breakfast because she can't make breakfast yet. She tries.
We won't talk about that, right?
No.
That's good. What did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh God.
Now you've had this spectacular life. You've recovered from, you're on the go. What were your dreams?
Um, I wanted to be a lawyer at one stage. I'd be the world's worst lawyer. I'm not attention to detail. I've got nothing. I wanted to be an actor. I mean, that lasted for about a couple of years. Although I never actually, it's ironic, I don't actually wanted to ever be in a play. So who knows? I was 10. Um, I think for the longest time, I don't think I knew. I call myself a late bloomer. I wasn't one of those kids that knew, had any real idea. I didn't realize I had any sporting ability till I was in my mid-20s. I didn't really, no. I was just one of those, "Oh, I'm just gonna float along and do whatever, because that's me." I was the kind of kid who, and I'm the kind of woman who still forgets where I parked the car in the car park. I have wandered around quite a few times, no idea where it is. So I call myself a late bloomer, but I was writing stories when I was little. And I was reading Babysitter's Club and Sweet Valley High and Sweet Valley Middle School and Sweet Valley University because Jessica Wakefield and I share a name. I used to get fan mail from like 12 years. It's going to sound so bad. When I was like 15, from 12-year-old girls, because my email back then was Jessica Wakefield. Well, it still is now, but so they would think that it was the character Jessica Wakefield's email. And they're sending me these emails. And I mean, I didn't have the heart to reply and I didn't string them along or anything like that. And that was a bit mean. I didn't do that. But, and so people will often be like, oh, you're in a book. Yes, but I'm not a California blonde girl with blue eyes and I don't have a twin sister. It'd be nice if I did, but I don't. But so I think I've always kind of angled towards writing. I did it at university. I did fairly well. And I think it really though wasn't until I read a Denise Hunter book in 2009 that I figured out what I wanted to write. I didn't know Christian fiction romance existed until then. And I was like, what is this? Oh my gosh. I've like my world just opened up and next thing you know, within 2 years I have a blog with my sister and we're reviewing, Christian fiction books and I was reading and reading and reading and reading and reading like a crazy person. That's when I realized, no, this is what I want to write. So yeah, I was all over the place really, to answer your question. Like this interview is probably going to be a bit all over the place.
Yeah, I muted because my dog is going crazy. I think someone is out there. I'm not sure. And then I'm talking with it muted. So you didn't understand the thing I said, but that's okay.
When you say someone's out there, it sounds like someone's
not
out
like but my dog is super protective. You've not met Ziva. She's occupied but she makes
Send me
appearances.
photos.
Ziva.
Ziva usually wanders in on our interviews
Ziva.
and reviews, so she's part of the family here. So
I've seen
and she likes my voice.
Photos of Ziva.
She's busy though, because when people
busy.
pull in and they're outside in our yard, she does not like that. And so she's making sure that I'm aware there is someone in the yard, although there's
right, yes. So
I mean,
she's
it's not
doing
like
her job.
yes, she's doing her job. So I was trying to avoid having to edit all that out, but we'll see. Anyway,
I do think we need to tell Denise Hunter and Becky. Becky lives fairly close to me, by the way. So the influences, I think they're always thrilled. And then I bet you there's going to be somebody influenced by you. And
that'd be lovely if there was one day.
So that's good.
What I was gonna say, so I know that you actually put a little of your heritage because you are part Filipina in this story that right in front of you. So tell us a little bit about what it was like to have a Filipina mother in Australia.
Well, I grew up. Well, the thing is, I grew up in a small country town, so every one of my friends is white, and I'm also part Spanish. So I'm part Spanish. There's as much Filipino in me as Spanish, although culturally I am Filipino in terms of half Filipino. And my dad is Caucasian, English, Scottish, German, the whole deal. So they call me a bitzer, which is like a terrible thing. But do you know what a bitzer is? It's a dog that's multi-bred. You have no idea what.
A mutt.
A mutt is what we call it.
A mutt.
Yeah, we call them mutts.
I like her word better.
Yeah, me too.
We do call them mutts too, but mostly bitzers. So, and I know it's a terrible way to refer to yourself, but at the same time, like I've had people come up to me and they're like, "So what are you?" I'm like,
human?
Well, yes, human. I'm Australian. I'm like, do you mean my ethnicity? And they're like, yeah, okay, right. Well, I don't ever get offended because I know most people honestly are just curious, and that's fine. I mean, I can tell when someone's trying to be an idiot, and honestly, 9 times out of 10, it's no one's trying to be an idiot. So I grew up eating rice with like everything. So it was very common in my house. You grill a steak or a pork or a lamb, and then we have rice next to it with vegetables. Totally normal. Um, you know, I would have bacon and rice for breakfast because my dad would cook it for me. I was a little bit spoiled. We would have rice and omelette for lunch. I grew up with hot lunches. I really didn't do sandwiches. My mum, I don't know if they do sandwiches. I don't think they do sandwiches in the Philippines. I had sandwiches for school. Obviously, I hated them. And there was a small but very strong Filipino community in Canada where I'm from, and it's Canada, not Canada, just so you know, because people often think I say Canada. Even Australians will think it. It's kind of hilarious. But anyway, so Ganida, G, not a C, gun, Canada. And so there was all us group of kids, all with, Caucasian dads and Filipino mums, and we'd have, all these parties, New Year's Eve parties, and just party for any real reason, really. Just food, 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 and just the kids running around. And my mum never taught me the language. I kind of wish she had actually. But this is back in the 80s, and when you come to a new country, it's different now. Like then you didn't teach your kids the language, just didn't do it. Now, mum probably would have. But it's just something you didn't do. But I don't understand it, but when I hear it, I know it. I'm like, oh yes. Oh, because my mum used to sit on, when we had the corded telephones and he's sitting in the hallway and the phone was on a little table with a chair. Yep, yep. And she'd sit there and she'd talk to her friends, and I would go to sleep listening to her talk in her dialect. My kids will go to sleep listening to their dad play piano. I would go to sleep listening to my mum speak in her language. So it would literally lull me to sleep. And I knew when the conversation was ending because she'd say certain words. No idea what that meant, but I just knew that was the end of the conversation. And for me, it was scary putting it in the book because I don't want people to think that it's me. So deliberately setting it in America, giving her an American Filipino girl is stepping that away from me. And it was actually, I really thought it would be hard to write, but it wasn't actually, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm really glad I did it. And, I brought some of the food into the book. The Trinity Lakes books, they are also almost every book features an Australian or a New Zealander main character. So I broke with that by just having two Americans. But there's a really funny scene in the book where they're trying to eat a meat pie. Now, do you guys know what our meat pies are?
Is it like what you get in England? Is it kind of like a pasty, kind of like that, or a
Yeah.
pasty, or whatever, however you say
Pretty
it? I don't know.
about this
Yeah.
high. And yeah, there's a big debate in Australia how you eat it. But to be honest, if you're on the go, you eat it like a sandwich. It's a bit messy because the meat will come out, but that's how you eat it. But these two guys have never really eaten one before, so they're standing there. They're like, "How do you eat one?" And because I realized when I was writing it, they wouldn't know. If they've never encountered it, they wouldn't know. And then they're like watching other people. They're trying to eat it. So I thought that was a really good way to kind of introduce Australian food into it. And with my Filipino food and other scenes, so you kind of get a bit of all of it, really. I think they eat American food. No, they do. Sorry, I'm kidding. I don't mention the American food because it's there.
I'm sure they were eating it.
I know, but I like because it's bringing in some authentic. I mean, I want to go meet Rachel's mother now, and the food, and you can almost picture her. She's very clear in my brain, and we like side characters. Rebecca and I have a thing about side characters because they can bring so much to the
Yes,
and
yes,
to the grandfather as well, to Hayden's
yes,
grandpa. We could talk about the
yes,
Hayden and Rachel are the main characters. I guess we can get into
yes,
your book.
they are.
And then
Yes.
Hayden's mother is the Filipino mother, and then we have Hayden's grandfather.
No, it's not Hayden's mother. Oh, did you say
So
it
Rachel's
sounded
mum.
Rachel's mother. Did I
You
say
said,
Hayden's mother? I meant
yeah, you
Rachel.
did, but you
Brain
meant
went.
Rachel. Yeah, Rachel's mother is
Okay.
Estrella. right? And she is the
Estrella,
friend,
yeah, and she's
Estrella,
Filipino.
and she's the Filipina. And yes,
Yes.
and she
And then
was one of
Hayes.
the truthsayers that Rachel had too. And but
Yes.
Leah was the other, and she was awesome too because the relationship that they developed, through the nutrition and the store and her working and providing just a way for her to like kind of de-stress, for Rachel to
Yes.
de-stress. That was
Mhm.
amazing. I really liked that. Um,
Oh,
did you
wonderful.
did you know a lot about like that type of thing? How much research did you have to do to kind of make that
Oh.
feel authentic? Because they felt very,
Mm.
um, it would whatever you did, it was just the right amount of like knowledge, little tidbits of what was going on, what they knew, and then, without overwhelming us, but it felt very much like like you knew what was going on there. So I'm
Oh, good.
curious.
That makes me happy. I would confess I chat GPT'd what you'd find in a organic store because we don't really even have that many organic stores where I live. There was one years ago. I think it's closed down, or at least it's moved. I'm not sure. No idea. So I didn't even have one to go to. Um, and so I chat GPT'd what you might find in one. Um, and then I did a chat GPT basic things about nutrition that, geez, you'd hope I'd even know, but no, I didn't know. So I'm like, oh, okay. Stuff I should know myself. This is basic stuff. Um, yeah, so just sort of, and then just kind of took some of that and did a little bit more research, like not much. I mean, it's why I enjoy contemporary. I don't have to go into deep research. I can't write historical to save my life. I like reading them, but yeah,
Yes,
yeah. Yes, yes, you're with
agreed.
me there. Yes, yes. I feel it. I feel that you're with me there.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, so I just did enough so that I felt confident that Rachel sounded like she sort of knew what she was talking about, and Leah's store sounded authentic. And because Leah is a character in a previous book in Trinity Lakes, I was obviously able to ask the author Lisa Renee a bit more about Leah, and she pointed me to the scenes in her book. So I took some of those scenes as well with the description of the shop and everything, and kind of just made sure that they all aligned as well. So yeah, so it wasn't all me; it was my friend Lisa and ChatGPT, and
Okay.
I just brought it
That
together.
was that was one thing because too, I know this is book 14 in Trinity Lakes series. So
Yes.
we were wondering how many, because I this was the first one I've read. Now I'm curious to read more because I really enjoyed the setting, the town, and I wondered how many of the characters are kind of regulars or in the town or
Um,
characters there.
so each book will have their own individual heroes and heroines, but the side characters will come and go. So it depends if another author from the series wants to pick up, say, Grandpa Willis and cart him in as a side character. Um, so I pulled Lisa from Lisa's book, which for the life of me, I'm sorry, I can't remember its title right now. I pulled her, Leah was her main character. So I pulled her in to be my secondary character. And some of the books are doing that, but there is a cast of side characters that you will see pop in and out throughout the books. So they can all be read as standalones.
Mhm.
Um, and then, and the characters pop in and out, and it's really up to the author's discretion. Like, Lisa was happy for me to take Leah
Mhm.
and just have her as a side character. And I made sure I sent Lisa some stuff, and she's like, "Yeah, that sounds like Leah." I'm like, "Okay, good," because we need to make sure she still sounds like the same character.
Right.
That's hard to do because everyone
Mhm.
writes with a different voice.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I was curious, how many of them kind of come and go, because that was kind of the impression that I got, like that Leah had been in there before. Is the
Yes,
camp, is it something that's kind
yes,
of in the
yes. The
area
camp
already? Like,
features, yeah, the camp is featured quite a lot in a few other books,
okay.
and I
If you
can't remember
want
which ones.
Leah's story, Lisa Renee, the author, it's book 3, and it's all
Yes,
always
book 3. I'll
so.
always choose you. Is
Yes,
that it? Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
There
yes.
you
I'll
go.
always choose you.
there you go. Give her a little plug here,
Yeah.
But it's interesting to take that character. Leah has her own story. I can't get names right tonight.
I know. Well,
Leah
there's
has
Lisa
her,
and Leah. It's too hard.
Leah has her own story, but then comes back, and she's fairly
Yes.
prominent in your book,
Yeah.
as Rachel's,
Well,
new
I was
friend.
looking to give Rachel something else to do. I'm like, man, this girl just cannot stay at this cabin. Like she
Yeah.
can't. And then I was like, I was reading some of the Trinity Lakes books. This is when I was just starting to get into it. And I'm like, oh, she has a organic store. Oh, that would work really well because my girl's a nutritionist and it'll give her a site. And she's already looking for a little bit of a way out potentially with her work.
Mhm.
So this will just what she needs. And it worked out really, really well.
Yeah.
And, and her Leah's sort of character arc kind of blended quite well with what Rachel needed to learn anyway.
Yeah.
So it was perfect.
Yeah, it did. It fit very, very well, and we really enjoyed that part. I also enjoyed what you did with kind of the negative things that happened with Hayden and how, when the boys collision, for instance, and the father that is kind of
Yes.
like not sure, if this, if you should be with, being friends,
Yes.
befriending my son and things like that.
Yes.
That was really creative. I thought we're, working with those very minor characters, but they end up impacting the hero a lot with
Yes.
what they
Yes.
say.
Yes. Hayden was very hard for me to write. Essentially, I kind of rewrote this book 3 times. So I don't write fast. Can I just tell you that now?
Hey, okay. I surrender.
She's determined not to write fast. Here
I'm just reading her answers to me.
Yeah. Fast is relative, and we'll just leave it there.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's right. Um, and it was funny that Hayden was, I mean, they're both the main characters, but there's often always one that'll be slightly more emphasis on it. It turned out to be Rachel, not Hayden. And my idea from the very, very beginning was always it was going to be Hayden's story, but for whatever reason, it just didn't quite work out that way. He still gets his story and he still gets the change, and he's still like the scene at the end. I'm not going to give away spoilers.
No.
At the dinner, like it made me, I was writing it and crying. And I was really proud of him for what he did, and good on him. And so he did grow and he did fully evolve, but it was actually Rachel that needed more heart work than Hayden.
Yeah.
And I think originally Hayden was going to be more scarred from his past and his life experience than he was. Even though he was scarred, he was going to be more. But it turns out Rachel was really angry, and we need to deal with her anger. It just kind of popped out, and I was like, oh, okay. It's like Rachel's taken over. Righto, we'll go that way then. And that's when the story sort of really came together.
And it was kind of her anger that really was the way we read it, it was like that was what, really pushed them apart because he
Yes,
was
yes,
really, he was really into her even from the
yes,
beginning. Of course, she
yes,
had that
yes,
rule and all that. So it made it kind of,
yes,
the first part was pretty easy because of the rule. But later, once
yes,
they were starting to click, it was really her anger that kept
yes,
them apart. And
yes,
I thought you did a fantastic job because sometimes it's really hard to get an organic not why not? That
yes, yeah,
idea of why aren't they together already? Well, it was really
yes.
obvious she wasn't ready for that. And I thought this was one of the most organic why nots I've read in a long time. And I thought
Thank
you
you.
did a great job with that. Because sometimes it's just like let them go together, like
Yeah,
seriously.
I know, I know, I know.
You know.
I mean,
So,
I know she was angry, and I think some people might struggle with just how angry she was, and it made her slightly unlikable. So I had to work really, like my editor, um, she read my my rewritten draft, which was really bad, but I didn't have time to go over it before she got hold of it, and she was doing a developmental edit. So for those people who don't know what a developmental edit is, it's doing the big picture stuff, character and plot. And she came back and she's like, I love this, but Rachel's really unlikable. In fact, Hayden's not so great either. So I've had to really, really work hard to make her likable while she's angry and make them both they were quite petty. And we had to, I spent, I don't know, her edits. I didn't have to rewrite the whole book. I had to rewrite maybe half of it. Um, so I had to work really hard to keep them realistic and likable, but the seed of her situation was unforgiveness and not trusting. And I mean, I get it.
Mhm.
Dad leaves you,
Mhm.
yeah, you're gonna have trust issues. You're gonna be upset and you're gonna be angry.
Mhm.
So, and getting her to a place where she could start that journey was what she needed.
Mhm.
And, Hayden accepting her. I mean, I think Hayden actually um I think Hayden was so good to her. I think she said some really not so nice things and really pushed him away. And, he had enough wisdom to see, yeah, okay, we're just, you're not ready, and understand that she's speaking out of anger,
Mhm.
even though he's hurt.
Mhm.
So I like, yeah,
Well, that was part of what made him likable, was how he kept forgiving her, even when she wasn't ready to forgive him or even treat him with respect
yeah,
sometimes, and he kept forgiving her. And I think because he had already kind of had a moment in his life, before the story
yes,
started, that made him, likable, even when he was doing things that the public especially said were like
yes,
horrible. We
yes,
you let us into the fact that into his head enough that we knew his motivations, and that kept
yes.
him likable. So you did a great job on that too. I mean, the rewrite was successful. um and yeah, it was fantastic. So
Well,
go ahead.
and
I've
I
been
think I like
monopolizing
though
all these
about
questions.
no, no, that's good. But about Rachel, the way, to keep her likable and stuff, but you gave us just little hints as a reader. It was an unfolding of all the issues, because at first you think, oh, well, that's her issue, and then it went deeper and it went deeper and
Yes,
deeper, and that was so well done. And I
Mhm.
think I liked this because there was realism to it. It wasn't not just a Hallmark, and there's nothing wrong with the Hallmark sweet romances
I
or
have
love and
some
spring sweet
Hallmark
romances.
romances too,
We
guys.
love
Like, so
them,
yes,
all
there's room
that,
for
but
all of it.
I like the realism that there was some gut stuff going on here. It was really heart wrenching, gut wrenching, and
Mhm.
I liked the realism in it. So
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
with Rachel's story, yeah, yeah,
So what are you working on now?
You know what I'm working on now.
I do know what you're working on now.
yeah. But the world doesn't know what you're working on now. Tell me what you're working on now.
So Rebecca and I and Tabitha now, Tabitha Bolden.
Golden. Hmm.
Bolden. Okay, Tabitha Bolden. We are working on a novella series. There's no overarching title for the series yet, but it's set in a fictional town on the Florida Gulf Coast. Think
Which has
Destin,
been
Florida.
devastated by a hurricane just
Yeah.
not too long ago.
Yes, yes, it has. Yes, we watched that on the news. Um, and the town is called Summer Shore. And Rebecca, Tabitha, and I are all taking on a different character. And it's three best friends who own a business called Love Elegant. And each one does a different thing. So my character is Viana, and she's a wedding planner. Rebecca, your character she was Olivia.
Olivia. I have
Olivia, and
Olivia.
she's the wedding photographer. And
Yes.
Tabitha's character is, oh my gosh, having a Lauren,
Lauren.
Lauren, Lauren, yeah. And she's the wedding cake maker. And so they have a business, and they have a house that they run small weddings out of. And the girls live, it's a 3-story house, and the girls live in the top floor. And the second floor is, well, they can house up to about 12 guests. And then the bottom floor is the kitchen dining room. And they can have weddings outside or inside. And it's boutique, small boutique weddings. And the business is struggling because they're only doing like 2 weddings a month, which is not great for, in wedding season. And now the biggest issue that the three of us are having is we decided to be super ambitious and set each novella at the same wedding at the same time.
Ooh, ooh, that is ambitious, y'all.
And Rebecca will attest to counseling me from backing away from this decision and telling me that it's going to be okay and we're going to do this.
I did, yes.
Yes, she has been counseling me like, it's okay, we can do this, don't worry.
I mean, now Rebecca, because we just, a couple months ago talked to the Chasing Fire Montana authors.
Yes,
6 books, 5 authors, and they had to carry it
yes,
through in the collaboration there. With you, Jess, it was this Trinity Lakes, and you're taking a story from book 3 and you're on book 13 and 12.
Yes.
And taking that. So there's collaborative, but at least it's different, times and spaces. Y'all, the same thing.
Yes. I literally will write 3 paragraphs and then go, oh my gosh, what are her characters doing now? Should they be doing this? Or does my character need to know something even if they're not in the same scene?
All right, Rebecca.
I feel like I feel like you just need to write your book
I
however you
know.
want to write it. And
I
we
know.
will figure it out. Because once
right.
we get one,
I
we
know.
will just sort of dovetail them all together. It'll be fine.
See, look, listen to her. See, she's totally doing what she did like 4 weeks ago when I had like a panic attack.
She's good at this. She's good at keeping things level and calm.
Yes,
so are you the
I'm
first?
sensing that.
Are you the first book?
Yes.
So that they will dovetail off of what you write.
Yes.
So yeah, she's right. Write your book.
And I am writing it, Rebecca. It's just my hero is finally talking to me. He wasn't talking to me, and I was supposed to start really, really get stuck into it this week, and he just wouldn't talk to me. I'm like, okay, he's standing in a scene, and I'm like, I have nothing. Even though I've done his backstory, I've done everything I need to give him his conflict, and he's still not talking. I'm like, there's a burst water main going on here, man. It's right there, and no, I'm like, uh-oh.
I'll just have to have Olivia come in and, well, she'll send her mother in there and she'll kick his butt and then he'll start talking to you.
Okay. You know what, guys? I happen to know this podcast, this set of, Rebecca R&R that could interview y'all when these set of novellas come out. So,
well, they'll be out September next year.
Yep.
All right, Rebecca, how'd you like to get the tables turned on you? Well,
yes,
you can yourself.
Hey. And if you are really excited about Summer Shore, you can read about it in the book that I'm putting back out this year still. So Loving the Rodeo Queen has and mentions Summer Shore and Olivia and her mother. So you can get a little sneak preview.
There you go. There you go. See?
This is why she's good at this, right? This is why she's good. She'll do great. Do you have okay, after this wonderful novella collection with Tabitha and Rebecca, you got any full lengths coming up or more novellas?
Yes, I have one coming out in July called It Shouldn't Be You. And it's a Romeo and Juliet meets Gilmore Girls.
Fabulous.
Set in Washington, D.C. And the secondary character from that book, you will meet him in Summer Shore.
See?
So, yes. So, no, story is about having a moment. Sorry, there's too many names in my head. Declan and Addie. And Addie's from a very wealthy family, but she doesn't want anyone to know. And Declan is the journalist charged with reviewing a Christmas party being thrown by her parents. And her parents hate him and he hates her parents. And they're trying to tear down the beloved community center that was very, very formative in his younger years. And he's trying to fight it. And he's losing the battle for the community center, but he's falling for Addie, and he really shouldn't be falling for Addie because her parents represent every single thing he hates about the world or what's wrong with the world. But, it shouldn't be you, but it is.
Great title. I do like the title.
Awesome. Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah. So, oh, that's fantastic. So we're going to be looking forward to that. And you also have some novellas written too that from the Christmas
Yes,
box, right? Was the
yes. Give me
novellas that you had. Those are really good. I like them.
the Christmas box.
Hmm.
Oh,
And
So
I've read them.
it is. You've read them.
Yes, they're very nice.
I this is Hallmark. This is total
Yes.
Hallmark
I was
vibes.
when you said that, I was like, that's the Christmas box. Those are the Hallmark stories.
Yes,
Uh,
they're
but they're really
very Hallmarky, very cute. They're really good for a read, like because there are three short novellas, and they're really easy to read for a busy mum at a Christmas season. Like, they all connected by the box. And I am going to write a second one, featuring the secondary character from each of the series, each of the three books.
okay.
And
Great.
I'm halfway through one of them, but you know what? Life got way too busy. I was going to do it by this year, and no, no, I don't know what I was thinking. Way too ambitious. I really can't write that fast to do that.
okay.
Snap. There it is.
We're done with
Okay.
how fast you write. You're writing
Yes,
fast.
yes. We get it. We'll give you
Wait,
space. It's okay. Take as much time as you need.
It's a running joke
Anyway,
now, ladies.
this has been so much fun. We're so
It
glad
has.
you were able to come. We were able to, get this halfway around the world thing where you're on one day and we're on the other and all of that.
The
It's
future's
been
bright,
amazing.
ladies. The future's bright.
There we go. Love it. Love
So
it.
what do we got coming up in this is December, and what do we got coming up in January?
Well, first, I'm going to
Uh,
get
yep.
jessicawakefield.com.
Oh
Give
yeah.
her
We gotta
her social media one more
definitely go
time.
there.
Check out this book and the upcoming books. Yeah, do it. That a girl
Yeah.
right in
Yeah.
front of you.
Good job.
Out now. Lots to look forward to. Christmas box. Yay. Okay. jessicawakefield.com. Good job, Jessica. Anyway, coming up next month in January, we are going to kick off our year with Kara Swanson and a book called Ignite, and a little bit different genre.
I've
Fantasy. Fantasy. I love
I've
fantasy.
got her. I haven't read it yet, but I've got her. Is it a Peter Pan one?
Dust.
Dust. Yes, I remember
Yes.
loving. I don't read a lot. Is it YA? Does she write YA?
It is, but I mean, I loved it. So
I
yeah.
mean, I bought it because I loved the title and the picture, and that's why I bought it. And
Yeah.
it will get read. But yeah,
Yeah.
it was that looked really intriguing. So that'd be
She's
cool.
she's very her that one is really good. I really liked it too. But this one, Ignite, it has a girl who's a phoenix. And so
Ooh,
yeah. So that we have to look forward to, and it's fantastic too.
I'm gonna look it
Um,
up. I'm gonna look
There
it
you
so
go.
up.
We'll look it up and,
we're gonna
and join
be
us in January again. Check us
yes.
out. Good.
Well,
And
thanks
so
for having me.
you're welcome. And please
It's
like
been fun.
and subscribe and, follow us on all of we have YouTube if you'd rather have video. We have Spotify if you just want audio. You can have video on Spotify as well. We're on some other platforms as well. So go to our website, RebeccaandRebecca.com. You can find all the links there to figure out who's coming and what we've done and where to find us. So thank you for watching.
And we will see y'all next time. Bye
Yep.
bye.
Bye-bye.